Yo, what is up, YouTube? I've got a special video for you today. Today we've got an unboxing, an install, and a review of the new JSAUX RGB transparent backplate for the ROG Ally X. We're gonna test it out. We're gonna check out some thermals. Once again, I'm Cameron, and this is Gamer vs. Tech.
Something that was real.
So let me start off by saying, why does my Ally X look different than yours? Well, I've got the transparent thumbsticks, I've got the Elite D-pad mod, I've got PlayStation buttons, but don't hate, you know, everyone's looks different. I like the way this one looks, but now I've got the JSAUX RGB transparent backplate. It's pretty nice so far. So why did I get this? Well, I like modding my handhelds, but JSAUX claims that you get better thermals with this heatsink. And not that the Ally X needs better thermals, but it's nice to see that you can maybe possibly lower some heat and maybe possibly squeeze out a little bit extra performance. Probably not, but lowering heat overall may equate to the longevity of your device. So that was a definite selling point to me. So currently this RGB transparent backplate with heatsink for the ROG Ally X is $39.99 directly from the JSAUX website. It's not currently on Amazon, but I'm assuming it will be coming to Amazon soon, because when you actually open up this box, there is like a little card in there that says Amazon. So I'm assuming they're prepping everything ready to get going on Amazon. So what will you need for this install? Actually, you don't need anything. I found the tools inside the box to be quite fine. The screwdriver is perfect for all of the screws on both the Ally X, the OEM screws, and the screws that they provide for you for the new backplate. And then there's like a little pry tool. There's also like a little pick so you can kind of peel open the backplate. I didn't need that at all. I've actually opened up my device quite a few times. And if you've done that, then I find that the backplate comes off a lot easier over time. So you don't need to bring your own tools. If you find that you really like your tools, like if they're magnetized or just you're more comfortable with them, go for it. Not a huge deal. And the last thing that you're gonna need is about 25 minutes of your time. I would rate this install process about maybe like a 6 out of 10. It's not that difficult, but if you've never done anything before, modding your Ally X, then it might be a 6 out of 10. For me, I've done plenty of mods all by myself, and this is a really easy mod to do. Before doing this install, I highly recommend looking at the official JSAUX installation video. It's kind of hard to find on YouTube, but you will eventually find it using the instructions within the box. It's a little fast paced. I wish it was a little slower and had some different camera angles so that you can really see things. We'll get into that a little bit further in the video, but there is an official install video, and hopefully my video can kind of help you make better tweaks to this install. So what's the install process like? Well, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna pop off the OEM backplate. When you do that, be very careful about the ribbon cable that is attached to the backplate and the motherboard of your ROG Ally X. This ribbon cable is to connect the back buttons on the Ally X. So when you pry it open, don't like separate these two pieces very far from each other. You're gonna wanna pry it open pretty gently, and then watch out for the ribbon cable. It's a quick little tab to pull up on, and that ribbon cable just pops right out. But forewarning, watch out for that ribbon cable. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna prep the new backplate, and you're gonna do that by actually removing the back button modules from the OEM backplate and transferring that over to the new backplate. So in order to do that, it's not that difficult, but you feel like maybe something's not right, at least from my install. When you put those modules into place with the new RGB backplate, they kind of don't want to fit in the tabs for that backplate. What I suggest you do is you try to line up the screw holes with the screws And when you actually screw down those modules, things will kind of fall into place. I had kind of a hard time doing this because one, I didn't want to break those little boards, but I will say this, I was pretty rough and nothing bad happened at all. But discretion, don't force it, but try to line up those screw holes and screw it down and it should line into place. JSAUX also has you pull out some like dark blackout tape to put over the light sensor. I'm assuming that this is, because it's transparent, and if it feels or sees any light coming in through the backplate, it's gonna say, oh, the backplate's open and it's not gonna want to power on. So it is critical to put that black tape over the light sensor, and you're going to hopefully not have any issues. I haven't had any issues so far turning on the device since the install, but I'm pretty sure that's the reason why you have that blackout tape. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take out that heatsink. It's a nice heatsink. It's not the best heatsink I've ever seen, but it's a nice heatsink and it's custom made for the Ally X. And then you're going to want to add the thermal pads. You're just going to want to line up everything perfectly. I think when you get to the last pad or so, there's like a little notch. You're going to want to make sure that you have that on the right side. I will admit I had it on the wrong side first, and then I flipped it over and I put it on the right side. Now here's where things get a little confusing. So within the JSAUX installation video, there's pretty much like one angle and they're moving really, really fast. If this is the first time you've ever done any modifications, I can definitely see how this can be a little intimidating and a little scary. So when you apply the heatsink, JSAUX, they're kind of just like putting it in there and you're like, whoa, that was really quick. You kind of go back multiple times. And like I said, the angle is not the best, so you can see exactly where you're putting it. Now, here's my tip. You're gonna wanna pull back the power cable closer to the battery. There's gonna be the lower end of the heatsink actually has some room for that power cable to fit under. Hopefully my video kind of shows that a little bit better, but what I would highly suggest is lining up the top of the heatsink with the heat pipes on the Ally X and work your way backwards. In the video of the JSAUX video, they do it the opposite direction. They start from the battery side and they lower it down. That to me it was a little bit more difficult to line up. I had some difficulty doing that. So I started from the top back and it worked out perfectly. So hopefully this helps you install a little bit faster and better. So the last few steps, you're just gonna wanna attach that ribbon cable back onto the new RGB transparent backplate. Super simple reverse process. You just stick it in there and slide that, or push that pull tab back down. And then yeah, the ribbon cable is installed. And then very lastly, you're just gonna screw in the new backplate. I used the new JSAUX screws. I kind of like them a little bit better because, as some of you may know, taking off the screws on the OEM Ally X is kind of a pain. Some of the screws don't come out at all, which they should be, and the very bottom center screw doesn't come out. It's not supposed to come out, it's supposed to stay there. But I use the new JSAUX screws because I kind of like them. They seem a little bit smoother and hopefully they come out every time. It's just kind of a pain pulling off the back plate from the OEM because the screws stay and then they kind of get stuck. And then boom, you're done. Beautiful, brand new RGB transparent backplate. So what are my initial impressions? Well, it looks good. I really do appreciate the RGB. It feels very official. So there's no more OEM texture. So on the OEM backplate, there's a little bit of a texture on the back for grip. Because with the RGB backplate from JSAUX, you get these rubberized silicone grips. You don't really need the texture on the back of the device. I will admit, it feels kind of nice holding it in your hand this way. It's very smooth. I don't know longevity wise, like if holding it up for that long, if the texture really does add more from the OEM backplate, but I will admit, it feels very natural, but also very smooth. So I kind of like that. The grips feel good. They're not super snug. There is some alignment issues. I think because they're just rubberized silicone, they don't quite fit, like they don't line up with the buttons as much. Kind of hard to show you, but there is one issue that we'll get into a little bit later. So let's talk about thermals. The heatsink should offer better thermals with the device, And how I tested this is I tested this during playing Hogwarts Legacy. Why did I choose Hogwarts Legacy? Well, I have been trying to kind of grind at that game again. I've already beaten the game, but I'm trying it a different time around. But I find that like running through Hogsmeade and the castle sometimes, like the device can get up there in temperatures and it stutters, you know, FPS, things like that. So it's actually one of the harder games, in my opinion, to play on the Ally X. So throughout this testing, I'm in the performance power profile. I have not touched the fan curve or fan settings at all. I'm also not plugged in. Now the settings I'm running in game are 900p resolution. I don't have AFMF on. I have FSR on. I'm at auto VRAM. I don't have CPU boost on. The panel, the screen is at 120 hertz, no capped frame rate, anything like that. So it's kind of just running how it would naturally. But I just have that lower resolution at 900p. And then the graphics settings within the game, I'm at low everything. So for my testing, I am testing temperatures at idle. That means no software running in the background. The only thing that's open would be Armory Crate, but there's nothing else running in the background. I don't have any updates going on. It's just sitting there, and it's been sitting there for a while. And then during gameplay, I've got about maybe 10, 12, 30 minutes, it depends, of gameplay, and I'm running through Hogsmeade, so a more intensive part of the game. So for my initial thermals at idle, I was usually running around 31 degrees Celsius. I'd maybe go up to 32, but it never went lower than 31 degrees Celsius, and this is completely at idle, nothing else is going on. My in-game thermals in Hogsmeade, running around for quite some time, playing for some time, was about 55 degrees Celsius. Now, after the modification, I was running at 29 degrees Celsius at idle. Once again, nothing running in the background, but that's a 2-degree difference. And finally, in-game, in Hogsmeade, same settings, I was running at 52 degrees Celsius. That is a 3-degree difference. Now, it's not a huge difference, but there is a difference. I really hate when some people or companies claim to have a thermal difference or this product is really going to make a difference, and it doesn't. That's the worst. This actually does improve your thermals. Although small, it does improve your thermals. Now, is there any cons to this modification? Well, the only negative thing I can say are the grips are misaligned. Now, in one of my testings after the modification, especially on the right side here, when I said fitment issues, it's really hard to tell, but it doesn't line up correctly around the thumbstick and some of these buttons. It doesn't line up perfectly over here, but I don't really have the issue with the left thumbstick. With the right thumbstick, the grip kind of wants to pull back this way and push out. So when you're pressing left, the grip actually kind of gets in way of the thumbstick. So I noticed that like if I go to turn left, it was slowly moving compared to turning right, going very fast. And I figured this out because obviously changing the angle and looking down, it just was not making contact and going far enough. So hopefully over time, these grips kind of settle down and lay a little bit more flat. But initially that was kind of a problem. It's not a huge problem. You can kind of slide things over and readjust this silicone grip, pull it that way. I'm hoping, like I said, over time it settles back down and we don't have any issues there. But that's really my only con. Otherwise, other than that, it looks great. The thermals are improved and I really can't complain with anything else. I mean, it even fits my Elite D-pad mod. That's pretty sick. So is the JSAUX RGB transparent backplate worth it? I believe it is. It does improve your thermals. It looks really good. Yeah, the grips could be a little bit better. They could be a little bit more snug, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It feels really good. And yeah, it's a quick and easy mod. Like I said, if you've never modded anything before, as long as you follow the official JSAUX video and hopefully my video, it's not that bad. It's not nearly as bad as changing out these buttons. It's not nearly as bad as making this Xbox Elite D-pad mod. So is it worth it? I think it is. Thanks for watching this video. I always like to say thanks for the comments, thanks for the suggestions. I appreciate everything you guys are saying to me. I'm really trying to improve this channel. I'm really trying to get some more products in. I cannot wait for 2025 and Hawk Point coming out. Expect some videos on that stuff, but I appreciate all the love. I appreciate the attention, and I really hope that some of my videos can help just even one person out there make the right decision. So that being said, once again, I'm Cameron, and this is Gamer vs. Tech.